One Madison teenager is about to take her talent to the national stage. 17-year-old Meredith Rosemergy is preparing to represent Wisconsin at the Miss America's teen competition. Friends and family gathered this weekend to send her off in style. After winning her first pageant as Teen Madison, the Edgewood High School junior won her second ever competition to become Miss Wisconsin Teen 2026. She is also a passionate ballerina who founded the Ballet Bridge. The nonprofit has raised thousands of dollars to fund scholarships for young dancers.
So we're preparing Meredith to compete and represent Wisconsin at the Miss America's Teen competition. And really the whole program is just about these women being their best selves. So we're just helping her develop and to find her special talents and her skills. Meredith is a wonderful young woman, and I hope that everyone who meets her sees that. I'm sure that they do.
Meredith now heads to West Palm Beach, Florida for the national competition next week. We want to wish Meredith the best of luck.